Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Navigating the HCCI website presentation. I'm joined today by Jill and Benji. My name is Alex Smith. I'm a compliance specialist here in the Southeast Wisconsin DOT region, and I'll be moderating the presentation today. I'll hand it off to Jill to introduce herself. Jill?
Good morning, everybody. I'm Jill Fairman. I'm the Chief of Proposal Management at the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. A little bit about what our section does. We handle all the pre-qualification for the contractors. We go through all the proposals and we prepare them for advertisement. And then we also handle the advertising itself. During the advertisement process, we go through all the questions and answers that are submitted through BidX and work with the regions to get answers to them, and then worked with the regions to also issue any addenda required for any of those projects. Once the letting is complete, then we go through and review the bids and work with the administrator's office to go through and award projects and then move through the contract execution. Just to try to give you a little highlight about what my job is, and if you have any questions on those types of things, feel free to contact me. At the end of the presentation, the contact information will be there. That's it.
Thanks, Jill. I'm Benji Hayek. I started in this industry about 30 years ago on the contractor's side. And for the last 10 to 12 years, I have been on the consultant side, working with WisDOT, construction projects out in the field. But one of the big things that I do for WisDOT is I'm part of the DBE Support Services division, and I get the opportunity to work with DBE firms, whether they're certified or not certified. I head up the Mentor Protege program. We have a lot of great information on that program throughout the event. So if you see me or if you want to shoot me an email and ask me more about that, I'd be happy to get back to you about that. And we're very happy that you're joining us today. One thing I did want to put out there is if you do have a question, please type your question in under the chat. And as we get questions, then Alex will read the question, and then either Jill or I will try to give you the best answer we can. So for the rest of the presentation, we are going to turn our cameras off so you can just focus on the slides, but then we'll come back on towards the end when we open it up for any remaining questions. So thank you again. We hope you enjoy the presentation. So I'm going to stop sharing my camera and we'll get going. Okay, so this is the Navigating the HCCI website, and the purpose of this workshop is to guide you on a tour of the WisDOT HCCI website, where we're going to hopefully show you some valuable tips and tricks on where to find information that's essentially critical to you understanding the processes, the requirements, and how you can become more successful working with WisDOT. Today's agenda is we're just going to take a quick look at the mission statement. Then we're going to look at the HCCI site itself. We're going to go over this list of bidletting, contract logs, contract payments, contracting information, the labor, wages, and EEO information, the master contract schedule, pre-qualification, training, and DBE. This is kind of an extensive list, so some stuff we're not going to get really involved in, and then there are portions of the presentation that we will take a little more time on, show you around, give you a little more information as we go. So WisDOT's mission statement is to provide leadership in the development and operation of a safe and efficient transportation system. And the way that they're going about doing that is combining integrity, diversity, excellence, and accountability. If you're interested in reading this statement, it's actually on the website. Just type it in and it will pop up. So to get to the home page for WisDOT, you can, in your search engine, you can just type WisDOT. It will pop up and then you just click on the link and it will bring you to this page. This is the home page, and you can see across the top, there's different things on the blue ribbon starting with DMV online services, DMV info. The button that we're going to primarily talk about today is doing business. You also have travel, safety, projects and studies, and about WisDOT available on this particular window. So as I said, we're going to highlight and focus in on doing business. When you click on this particular button, there's a drop-down menu, and it has engineers and consultants, contractors, design build, civil rights and compliance, purchasing, local government, aeronautics, real estate, right-of-way use, freight and economic development. In this together, maps and GIS. So whether you're a consultant, a real estate agent, contractor, DBE, whatever, doing business is just what it says, doing business. This is where you want to go. So we're focusing on the HCCI site. So we want to click on contractors. And when we click on contractors, the window pops up, and what you see on the right side of your screen is basically the window pane off to the side, and this is where you would start clicking to get into each one of these categories. So without reading all of them, but highlighting a few, we have the bidletting, contract log and payments, contracting information, which is extremely important, and Jill's going to go over later on in the presentation, how to link over to the DBE site. Design build projects is on there now, so that's a great way to get information for both this and the consultant side. Labor wages, master contract, partnering, pre-qualification, all sorts of different things can be found clicking on the contractor button. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jill, and she's going to talk about the pre-qualification process.
Thanks, Benji. Now, pre-qualification process, if this menu that you see on the screen will actually appear on the left-hand side when you're looking at the HCCI site. So if you go and click on the pre-qualification verbiage there, it'll take you to a main page that will show you basically this outlay. It'll have the actual pre-qualification policy, the form work that you need to fill out for the pre-qualification. It also has a list of pre-qualified contractors. And that would be important if you don't know if your pre-qualification is expired. You can go to this list. It'll have the date. You'll know exactly what we have on file for your expiration date. It also has clear definitions of the work ratings as you're going through. Now, if you wish to bid as a prime contractor, you need to complete the pre-qualification process with WisDOT. You need to be assigned a work rating for the type of work that you want to bid on in the project. You get assigned that as you go through that process. Now, if you're planning to just be a subcontractor, in other words, you're not actually submitting the bid to WisDOT, then you only need a vendor number, okay? So if you're going to go through the pre-qualification process, you can see that Mickey Wagner is our primary contact for the pre-qualification process. Or myself too, you can always contact if needed. Now we're moving on to the highway construction contract site in and of itself, the general site. This has a variety of general notices that are very important and contractor tips. If we have anything that comes out as an urgent thing that we want contractors to know about, say when our plans and proposals weren't real legible unless you were in a particular browser, we put it on this website. Benji, go to the next slide, please. Here's kind of some highlights of the information that's out there. Bidding contractor information, it actually has standard spec 102. And what are the requirements for bidding with WisDOT? There's also some contractor tips, very important. The contractor checklist walks you through the process as you're going through. We'll go through that in a little more detail later. It highlights your best practices for all electronic bidding. 99% of our bidding is done electronically, so that's pretty important for everyone to know, and there's been some changes in that process. It also has links to the bidder proposal. That's the process you go through to request to be a bidder or a plan holder on our projects. There's also some details on ASP3, some of the bidding requirements, the process that's been going on, and some BidX training that's available. We also post COVID-19 requirements. Some of that's going to be updated as we move through some of the changes that have recently occurred. So keep your eye on those types of things so we know where we are. And as I indicated, some general notices. Okay. Next slide. This is the contractor's checklist as we're going through some of the, which highlights the whole process as a whole. It goes through the bid requests and the pre-qualification, gives you links to where you have to go for different sections on here. All right, kind of highlights the contractor tips aspects of things. Goes through the whole awards process. And I did notice that in this particular version that's currently posted, we do need to make some updates on that particular thing. Next slide, please. Okay. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the bidder proposal request system. As I indicated before, this system you use for requesting and or a bidder. You need at minimum a vendor ID to be a bidder or a plan holder on projects. If you're going to actually bid on the project, you will also need to have a pre-qualification on file and a current annual bid bond. Okay. All right, next slide, please. Okay, now this kind of highlights some of the electronic bidding best practices. If you're going to be bidding with us as a prime contractor, you will need a digital ID. You will also need to be approved by WisDOT to be an eligible bidder. So if you're a new bidding contractor, it's pretty important for you to go ahead and try to submit early to make sure that everything is functioning correctly. I do get quite a few calls at 5 minutes to the bidding hour of, I can't submit anything, what's going on? And we have to go in and make some approvals and work through those processes. So we encourage contractors, primes, to submit a test bid early so that they know that all their digital IDs are working and that they know how all of the attachments at this point are downloading as well. Next slide. ASP3, I think you'll probably be hearing a lot about that through the various presentations that you're going to be seeing today. The program has been significantly changed in the last couple of years. It is now being handled electronically at time of bid. The changes are outlined in general on the website, and there's some BidX training that you have access to as well. Kind of just a general outline. All of the DBE quotes, the DT 1506, which outlines the DBE participation, as well as a DBE quote and or an attachment A, needs to be submitted with the bid. Since February, we've allowed an extra hour for the contractors to e-submit any attachments or quotes that they weren't able to attain at the time of bid. So that's allowed a little bit more flexibility from them. But many are still using the attachments on the Bid Express website to submit their information, which helps increase the amount of how fast we can process things on our end as we go through. Okay. Next slide. Here's a section on the reporting requirements for COVID. We talked about it briefly this morning on the Design Construction Conference call. We will probably be removing the posting requirements for masking, those types of things. We will probably still have some reporting requirements if we have issues with COVID on site, but keep an eye on this area, and the updates will be made as they get decided upon, and we can move forward with that. Okay. And Benji, I believe you're going to walk people through the contract.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jill. I do want to put it out there. A lot of fantastic information was just given. Kind of, there's so many different ways we can go. So if anyone has any questions, please don't forget to enter them in the chat, and we will certainly get to them as we go along through here. So the next thing we are going to talk about is the master contract schedule. This is a monthly report which identifies projects out into the future. It's WisDOT's best estimate of what's coming down the pike and what's going to be ready for letting. These are pretty easy to read as far as just general information. It gives you the projects are sorted by construction type, whether it's a let or a non-let, what region it's in, what's the project ID, and what is the actual scheduled let date. Now, keep in mind, this is a working document. It does change daily, and updates are posted to the report on a monthly basis. Projects are listed up to a year in advance. So as of today, you'd be able to see projects from March until March of 22 until March of 23. Please keep in mind that after the letting this coming Tuesday, that will drop off, and then you won't be able to see March's projects after the letting, but you will start to see April of 22 and then April of 23. So it just keeps moving a year in advance. So bid letting, this is bookmark this page, learn this page, make it become your best friend, learn how to read it, learn how to do this. Then we can, you'll become very comfortable. I do see that there is a question, and Jill, it's about pre-qualification process. Do you want to answer that now or hold to the end?
I can. The pre-qualification process can vary. If everything is straightforward, if you have audited and reviewed financials, it could take 2 weeks to process it. If there are questions, if there's complications in the structure of the company, that type of thing, it may take a little longer. But we do put a priority on it and work through the process as quickly as possible.
Thanks, Jill. Okay, so getting back to bid letting, again, this is one of the options. It is on the left-hand side of the window when you open it. So you just click it, and the general process overview page comes up. And this is basically what the page looks like. And then what you want to do is you want to hit the advertisement schedule. Obviously, we're in year 2022, so it would say 2022, and you would click on that. And it would bring you to another page, what gives you the information for bid letting by date. And as you can see, we have 12 months of letting up there. This was from 2021. So below, when you look at it today, it'll show you the bid letting that's available in 2022, and it'll give you information on bids that were done in 2021. So for the sake of this particular one, we clicked on December 14th. And this page is brought up. And on this page, it provides you the advertisement, the plan and proposal, the addenda, the supplemental info, bidder information, debarment status, apparent bids, and awards. So the top half of the page looks like this. And you can see, under advertisement, plans and proposals, it basically goes straight down. And this is the second half that shows you the addendum, the supplemental information. This is where you would find your contractor data packages, questions and answers that you can submit when you're reviewing the plans and proposals prior to time of bid. Bidder information. This is where the list of contractors are. that are eligible and approved bidders, list of contractors that are plan holders, debarred as read bids, and then the corrected summary of all bids received. And then farther down, you'll see where the award section is. So we're going to start out the counter sheet and the work rating descriptions. The work rating descriptions have recently been added, I would say within the last year or so, of what the work actually is, how it's being rated, and the counter sheet. And so on the left side of the screen is the counter sheet. So this document provides a lot of great information for you. On the far left first column, that's a number, and it goes 1, 2, 3 all the way down to whatever it is. That is what is called your proposal number. Okay. Then you have the project ID, and it basically gives you a general location. Is it out of Madison? Is it out of Milwaukee? Is it out of the Waukesha area? Where is it? Then you have, and that is by a DOT office. Then you have county, you have the highway that it's closest to. Then you have the name of the road. And the far right column, the last column on this page, that's the class column. If you look to the contractor work rating description, you'll see that you have A through K. And in the class column on the counter sheet, it'll tell you, like, for instance, the first one is an A and a D. So it's telling you that it has general construction as well as asphalt pavement. So if that's something that you do, you can look at it and go, okay, great. This is something that's right up my alley. I can definitely take a look based on the work rating description for this project. Then you want to go to the advertisement. The advertisement brings up this is the monthly advertisement for the month that you're looking at for bidding. It has a project description. It tells you when the submission time and date is, and it also provides the information to the bidders. This document has the summary sheet. It gives you, again, we're looking at the classifications or the ratings. Again, general construction was A, grading was B, and it goes right down the list. And you can see that a lot of the projects fall into different categories. And then under grading, we only have one project listed here. We had no bridge painting, no street or airport lighting, and no building construction, but we did have incidental construction on this particular advertisement. So when you open it up, the monthly advertisement, as I said, gives all this great information. And then you open up the proposal, and we're going to use proposal 6 here, that all of the proposals give you this information. It tells you the quantities, the DBE goal that's associated with the project for federal funding. It tells you the completion dates. Is it a completion time where calendar date? Is it working days? Is it calendar days? It'll tell you all that information, and that's good to take a look at as well when you're determining whether or not this will fit into your schedule. Because if it's a completion date that's later into the fall, will you have time and crew available to perform the work? And it also goes through the contract details. So now that you've looked at this, you've looked at what's out there, you've read the little blurb and scope and what's going on with that project, and you're like, okay, this interests me. I want more information. Where do I go? So you can see that under the where it's highlighted proposal status, and that'll just give you an update. Has it been deferred? Is it still active? That is information that can be found on this particular month. You'll see we talked about 6, proposal number 6. So if you want to get those plans and proposal for that, you just simply click on plan. You'll also have to click on proposal. It doesn't bring them both up. You have to click on them individually, and a PDF will appear, and you can download that onto your own, into your own folder, and that way you can take a look at it. So when it does pop up, the highway work proposal, Proposal number 6 is on the left. That's your special provisions. So you can look through those, and absolutely do read through those, because that gives you a lot of great information on payment, measuring how things are paid, especially for, it's a special provision, so items that are called out over and above what the standard specifications are. And then on the other side of the screen, you'll see the actual plan. So you'll have both documents easily accessible just by clicking on those links. So just to recap, the key elements of the proposals and the plan. Under the proposal, it gives you the scope of work. It gives you schedule details, special provisions, proposal schedule of items. That's your bid tab or your bid items, what is actually there and the quantities. What federal money is involved in the project, especially if there's a DBE percentage or goal that's on there, as well as the Davis-Bacon prevailing wages. Under the plans, simple plans, the plans are simply the project specific details. The typical sections: construction details, traffic control and erosion control plans, miscellaneous quantities, standard detail drawings, and cross sections. Now, remember, each plan is developed for each specific project. These are your typical, but if you have structures or lighting or anything that's incorporated into that plan or that project, those will show up in that plan as well. So I'm going to turn it back over to Jill, and she's going to continue on with Addenda.
Thanks, Benji. Now, continuing to talk about the bid letting information, whether you're a project as a prime or you're just submitting quotes, there are certain things you are going to want to keep track of with respect to each individual proposal that you're interested in. And one of those things is Addenda. On the website, right below the plans and proposals, we have a section called Addenda. And here is where we post any addenda that are issued for any of the proposals. Sometimes the list gets a little long, especially when 50-some proposals out there. But each one of them is important to that contract. If it has a -SOI behind it, that means there was a change to the statement of items. So if you're a bidding contractor, you will definitely want to make sure that you look for that when you're in Bid Express. You will need to download that before you will be able to submit your bid. Okay. We also have a section of supplemental information. Relatively new to the department is we are posting contractor data packets that are available for projects. As part of our design process, we require the consultants to submit design files for surfaces and alignments, that type of thing, that would be available to the contractors throughout their bid preparation process. One highlight in here would be that there are local program is not required to submit those types of files to us. Some do in certain instances, others do not. So you may see a file indication below that the contractor packet information is not available, and that is what that refers to. Okay. We also, like I mentioned before, obtain or receive questions about the various proposals throughout the advertisement process. And we go through and work with the regions and find answers to those questions. And those answers are posted on the Bid Express site, as well as here in a spreadsheet format that allows you to search for different questions for each proposal and the corresponding answer. Some of these questions are requesting soil reports, permits, different maybe as-built plans if they're available. If we have that information, then we would post that as part of the supplemental QA documents. So if you click on that link, it'll take you to the supplemental documents, and you just go to the proposal number that you're interested in, and all the available documents for that project are posted there. Okay. Next one, Benji. As you scroll down the sheet, you'll also be able to locate the bidder information. for this specific letting. So each letting page has this link to it, and it's the bidder information for that page. This is requesting to be an eligible bidder for a plan or a plan holder. If you click on that link, it'll take you to the DT 1633 page that you can electronically request to be a bidder or a plan holder. As you go down, then you'll see there's links to a list of contractors that are approved to be eligible bidders, as well as a list of contractors that are plan holders. And then we also have the debarred and suspended contractors as we move through the process. Okay.
We do have a question, Joe. Marcus Cloud is asking, as a DBE, do I need to send a bid directly to the prime, or do I need to use Bid Express as well?
You can actually submit it directly to the prime themselves. And that's one of the things I think we'll see as we go through. When you go to the eligible bidders list, there is contact information for those contractors. And then you can utilize that contact information to submit your quote to that contractor for whatever items you're interested in. Okay. Next page, Benji.
There we go.
Okay. Here's a little bit more information on the bidder request system. As you can kind of see the outline of the form, it'll ask you to input contact information. That's pretty critical. I use that quite frequently if you're a bidder to contact after the letting if there's questions, and some who don't like the calls when they were rejecting the project. I do make a courtesy call, but prior to the rejection, and I use those numbers to be able to locate them. Also in here, you'd be putting in the letting date and your vendor ID. That's for all contractors as they're going through the process. If you have, you go through and follow the prompts. Another one thing that we require is outstanding work. In there, you put a dollar amount, but we also have an attachment that outlines the number of projects remaining on those contracts for that contractor. Okay, don't have to count your subcontracted work, but the work that being completed by your company. As we're going through. All right, next slide, Benji. Okay, here's a little better look at the eligible bidders list and the plan holders list. Okay, the eligible bidders list has everyone that's located, or every contractor that is submitted to be an eligible bidder and approved to be an eligible bidder on that particular proposal. An exception to that may be that some contractors will request to be a confidential bidder. In other words, they're approved within our system, but they will not show up on any of our reports. So they just don't want somebody to know that there potentially could be competition on that particular project. If you go over to the plan holders list, you will notice that you will both see the eligible bidders and the plan holders, and they're indicated by eligible bidder status being a Y in the far right column, or an N if they're just a plan holder. I'm going through that. All right. Now we're going to kind of look at a little bit more detail on posting bid results. Okay. Typically, we post the bids, I better change that a little bit. We have the letting the second Tuesday of the month. That can change. Holidays or some kind of restriction appear in there. It can happen around Christmas and New Year's, 4th of July, depending on how the lettings stood. If we think it's going to be too compressed for contractors to be able to reasonably submit bids, we will push the letting a week later. So just kind of be out there for that. When you go to the bid letting site for that year, the date will be shown correctly. So you should be able to easily locate it, but just be aware that it's not always a standard Tuesday every time. Typically, our bids are closed at 11 a.m. on Tuesday, And as we discussed a little bit earlier, we are now allowing an extra hour for the contractors to submit documentation, which is done via e-submit between the close of bids at 11 and 12 o'clock when the limit of submittal for those additional DBE documents are there. Okay. Apparent bids are then, we go through the checking process with the DBE to make sure that we have responsive bids on all proposals that are put out. Then the apparent bids will be posted at approximately 12 p.m. or noon on Wednesday. Okay. Bids, then we go through a bid review process where we go through the summary of it. Once the proposals are awarded, then you would be able to have all of the individual bidder information for each unit price. Up until the time we actually make awards, all you see is what is posted on the as-read bids at noon or shortly after on the day following the bid letting. Okay. All right, Benji, next page. This is kind of what the reports look like. We've kind of recently changed the apparent bids. We went with AWP's Bid Express's, format, and that'll show you which bidder is the low bid and on the respective bids of any following bidders. If a bidder is declared non-responsive, in other words, didn't submit all information at time of bid, you will see a non-responsive indication there instead of the dollar amount. Okay. We post a corrected summary of bids. Typically, since we've gone to electronic bidding, there isn't an issue with the accuracy. The computer helps us catch all of those mathematical errors that we have had in the past. And then the all bids is, as we make awards, those bids or the total bid tabs for those particular projects will be posted as we move forward. And as I said before, none of those prices are posted until award time or the projects have been awarded. Okay. All right, contracting information. This is another good general site. It includes a diverse amount of information, including forms, manuals, and resources. Next page. Some of the forms that are available, the 30% prime contractor participation form, and it also has a definition of, or go through the process of how to go through that. Very critical. Prime contractors need to complete that form and submit it to our contractor box prior to us being able to execute the projects. It does get forgotten from time to time, and I try to send out emails after we've got all the documents, including the contracts, but still no 30% participation. To the erosion control implementation plan. That's something that also needs to be completed by the contractor in between execution and when you have the pre-construction meeting. Okay. And there's also a sublet request that is linked to as well, and source of materials. Both these are forms that are submitted to the regions. There is quite often some confusion. Sublet request is not the same as a 30%. It's a different set of documents. And then those particular forms are submitted to the region, again, after execution, but prior to starting work on the project. Okay. Some of the technical manuals that you have access to from the site can provide you a lot of insight into the project and what the expectations are. We have a link to the Wisconsin MUTCD, which handles a lot of the traffic control information. You have access to the facilities design manual that allows you to know some of the background of why the designs were done the way they were. Contract administration, construction notes, different things that we're highlighting that have been issues and how they're being addressed. Something particularly important to many contractors probably would be the construction and materials manual, which shows you what you need to be focusing on as you're going through. And we also have links to the structure manual as well. Okay. Next. Reports that you have a contractors list. That's a very common one. Keeps a summary of all the work ratings, not the dollar amounts, but the categories that you are rated to complete work in. Contractor logs, average unit prices across. Just gives you a good indication of where things are. Again, don't use average unit prices for your bidding. Please do break that down so you know what your costs are. Different projects have different reads and then different issues. Fuel cost adjustment as well is posted on a monthly basis. Okay. All right, and then here's some resources that you would have access to. They're links directly to the 30%. Affirmative action, Bid Express, that'll take you right to the website and some of their documentation that they have available if you're doing bidding through that. The Buy America spec, still in enforcement on all federal projects. And the contractor's checklist, as I indicated, that's a good summary of the general process. If you ever have any general questions, it gives you some good contact people as well. So that's a good source of information. A direct link to the product acceptability list for erosion control. And then different proposal requirements that we have through the whole entire process. All right. Next. Okay. There's also a link in the menu to the left. Provide you additional information, labor, wage, and equal opportunity employment. So basically it takes you to some of the information that the OBOC maintains on a regular basis. Okay. Next slide. Information that's included is utilization reports, as what's being actually, how many DBs are being used, where are we standing with that, prevailing wage compliance, as well as payroll submission and compliance. And then trans-grad program is also summarized here as well. And now Benji is going to discuss a little bit about the contract payment system.
Thanks, Jill. Again, I offer you guys an opportunity to type in any questions. There are so many resources and forums that are available on the site. So if you have a question, please feel free to type it in and we will get back to you on that. So talking about contract payments, everybody wants to know, I did the work, did the prime get paid for it, or as the prime or as the subcontractor? You have the availability to go into the construction contract payment viewing system. But in order to do that, you have to have an account through WAMS, which is the Web Access Management System. So if you type that in, you get to go to a page that's called wisconsin.gov, and you can do self-registration. You see it circled in red in the middle of the screen. And that will give you, you can request a Wisconsin user ID and password. And so then once you get one of those, you can actually go to the CPVS or the Construction Contract Payment Viewing System. And there you can look up a contractor. You can look up a project by contract ID. You can look up a project by contract and project ID, sorry. And then you can also look it up by region. So once you open this up, you type a number in and you want to look at this. And we chose this one from a long time ago, and it was a pretty healthy project. Lots of estimates were done on this. So you can go in at any time and look to see what was paid on what's called this period. Typically, the construction projects, on an average, it's typical. It's not every single one. Obviously, there's different payment schedules with different projects, but typically every 2 weeks an estimate is created if it's over a minimum amount, I believe, of $1,000. And so say you know that an estimate is created on the 15th and the 1st of every month. Then you can go in and look, and it's submitted, and there's a whole process that goes along with that. But you performed work somewhere between the 1st and the 15th, and you want to know, hey, did that make it on the estimate? You can look, and then you can also see when this thing was actually approved and when WisDOT would cut a check for it. It is, this is a really good page to get used to working in. And you can, it is very user friendly, but it's also printer friendly. And you can import, do a CSV export. There's also a glossary of terms. So anytime you see glossary of terms, because we use so many acronyms, just familiarize yourself with that. So real quickly, you can see across here, it's laid out by contract line. We call it the prop line, by item number, description of the item, the units, the current quantity, the paid quantity. So if you're doing work and you've done, say, 50 units of work, and you're into the second or third estimate, and it's still only showing like 20, 25, you need to talk to your prime about it and say, why isn't this getting paid? But it goes across and it tells you how many units have been paid, how much money has been paid out on that bid item, how much percentage is actually complete. Are you at 100%? Did you finish the work? Should it show 100%? You want to make sure you're looking at that. And then it'll tell you, so this is a really good way to gauge where you're at based on the work that you've performed. You know when the estimate is going in. And unless there's some issue with the quality of work, the materials that were used or whatever, you should feel comfortable and confident to see if the work that you did is on the following estimate when the work was completed. So this is where you go find that. Another thing that a lot of people might not know that are out there, especially if you are a sub, a lot of our primes visit this page regularly, but WisDOT's process for reviewing and awarding and executing projects goes through a very thorough process before it is executed. The contract log tracks the status of the contract from award to execution. It includes a brief description of each of the project name, the name of the company, the bonding company, and information for the contractor that was awarded the project. It also talks about the date the contract documents were sent and returned to the prime contractor. It gives the execution date and any and all other pertinent information that's related to getting this project executed. It's maintained by the Bureau of Project Development, and if you have any questions, you can feel free to give them a call at any time. And we do have their phone number and their the link and their email, so you can email them directly. So if you want to find the contract log, you can click there, but you can also search it just in your in the DBE search function once you're on the home page. So there's lots of different ways. If you can't remember where you're like, oh, I heard them talk about this, but I can't find it, you can search within the WisDOT home pages. It's a great system and it works really well. But anyways, contract log it gives you the proposal, project number, the county, the highway, the name, the contractor. But it also, what it does is it tells you what's the status, when was the proposal out there? When was it awarded? When was it sent to the contractor, and when did they send it back? Did they meet the 30% rule? Was it approved? It tells you what the goal percentage is, and if all the DBE forms and everything were submitted and received. Over on the far end, it'll tell you what process, where it is in the process of the government. Has it gone to the chief? Has it gone to the secretary? Has it gone to the governor? Is it signed? When was it signed, and when was it sent back? Also in the comments on this particular one, it'll say executed, but you'll also see there's one that said it was deferred. So this project was on the letting and it was deferred. So it will show up. So someone will say, oh, I thought we were going to bid on this one. Where are we at? And then they can say, no, it was deferred. So we're wrapping up the meat and bones of the HCCI site, and then we're going to kind of go into some of the other special features that you can find on the HCCI site. We have training. WisDOT offers training courses not only to contractors, but also consultants and the municipality. You need to set up a username and login to access the Learn Center, and there's a guide in order for you to do that. Once you're there, you can register for training. You can print and view transcripts, and you can also print off your completed certificates. So click this link if you're interested. There's a lot of great information out there, a lot of great programs, and the bonus here is that 99.9% of them, if not 100%, are free and open to just about anybody. So we want to talk about DBEs because this conference is about you guys working to grow your business, to develop relationships with primes, and this is about you. So who really can become a DBE? So the gross receipts of the business are less than $23.9 million. A DBE applicant has to prove that they own 51% of the business. Their net worth cannot exceed $1.32 million. They have to have operational and managerial control. They have to be technically competent to perform the work. And they also have to perform a commercially useful function. And I know that you guys have heard about CUF before. You're going to hear about it today, and you probably hear about it tomorrow. So this is a really good term to get to learn and understand what it means. You can access the DBE webpage right from the HCCI site. And once you do, this screen will pop up. And I also want to share with you that we've recently updated the DBE Support Services page. It's really great, and it gives you a lot of good information. So at some point here in the next couple of days, please go visit the new DBE Support Services website. I'm sure you're going to find it very user-friendly and packed with a lot of information. And don't forget to sign up for updates. Updates are important on everything. You can sign up for updates on everything that we've discussed today. So just go search the website, and you just put in sign in for updates or sign up for updates, and it'll take you right to that page. So we have about 5 minutes left, and we would really love to get your feedback and some questions. Again, there's so much information to absorb, and we wanted to make sure that give you a chance to ask, and we also can work with you after the conference to help you along too. That's one of the things that I do for WisDOT DBE Support Services. So you can always feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email, and I can help you. We do have a question from Jacob, and he's asking, will you be sharing the PowerPoint? I believe these are going to be posted. Is that correct, Alec?
To be honest with you, though, I do not know where, but I can definitely find out.
Okay. I think we're going to send a notification after the conference to all of our attendees, letting them know when they're uploaded and available to for you guys to look at. Jill, we did a great job. There's no questions.
Well, a lot of times people don't have questions right now, but
Yeah.
as we indicated, my contact information is on the HCCI site. Feel free to give me a call if you have any questions. If I don't have the answers, by all means, I can put you in contact with someone who'll be able to help you.
Yeah, and I just put up our actual contact information. This will be available, obviously, when the slides are put out there. And again, feel free to give me a call as well. I do a lot of one-on-one sessions with people, taking the time with you to go through the websites, forms, and then put you in touch with the proper resources, like Jill and then her staff for certain things. So please go ahead, use us when you need us.
Any other questions for Jill or Benji today? I also did post again the workshop survey for this presentation. If you do have a minute, if you could go, please fill that out. Your feedback is most appreciated.
Well, we want to thank you very much for joining our session. We appreciate you being here and being here throughout the whole conference. And real quickly, as long as we have a couple of minutes, please don't forget that we do have our networking sessions tomorrow in person. We have the contractor networking and the consultant networking at 9:45 to 10:45. Then we have networking with WisDOT from 11 to noon. And I would say it doesn't matter if you are a consultant or a prime or DBE contractor, please feel free to come in and say hello to WisDOT folks. It's always good to see, to meet them. And then we also have Trans, which is opposite of WisDOT, networking with WisDOT, also at 11 to noon. So we hope we have to see you there. We got some great networking opportunities, and we're hoping to see everybody here tomorrow as well. Jill?
Yeah, I appreciate everybody participating. I know it's a complicated process. There's a lot of people out there to help support and ask questions. Feel free to use us whenever you have questions, sooner rather than later, to get the information and keep yourself on track as quickly as possible. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.